In this mastery quiz, you'll be asked to find combinations that include 2 or more of the tactical devices you just learned. I may not tell you in which direction to look, but you can rest assured the solution involves 1 or more of the themes you were taught in parts 1 and 2. Sometimes the solution will involve mate, and sometimes it will involve winning or saving material. If you're having a really hard time with an exercise, just hit the hint button, and I'll tell you what themes to keep an eye out for. Good luck. It's black to move here. The answer involves a double attack. Very good. Queen h5, threatening mate on h2. White has to defend with a move like h3, after which b5 forks the 2 knights. You see, the black queen was occupying the b5 square, so you freed up that square for the pawn and attacked mate with tempo. In the future, to help you out spotting pawn forks, whenever 2 pieces are situated like these 2 knights here, next to each other with 1 space in between, a pawn can fork them. Notice that pattern. Keep it in mind. It's black to move here. Mate in 2 using a discovery. Well done. Knight c3 double check. The bishop on g6 and the knight on c3 are both attacking the king. Notice, of course, that if the black knight were to move somewhere other than c3 or d2, if it were only check one way, from the bishop on g6, then white could capture knight takes g6 with a check of his own. So after knight c3 check, the white king is forced to move to a1. What's your next move? No, that's not quite right. Try again. Excellent work. Queen takes a2 checkmate. So in positions when you have discoveries, always look for the most forcing discoveries. Double check is a great option. This is a very famous endgame position. It's white to move here. The idea, obviously, is to promote your pawn and win the black rook. Take your time. A skewer comes to play here. Good work. The correct move is rook h8, a really powerful trick. So now let's review this endgame for a minute. First of all, if the black king had been on g6, we see that the white rook can get away with rook g8 check with tempo. Then the king moves and b8 queen wins the game. If the black king is on f7, or e7 for that matter, then rook h8 wins the game. Because after rook takes b7, rook h7 is a skewer winning the rook. Otherwise, next move will make a queen. If black checks the white king with rook b2 check, ultimately he'll run out of space. King f3, rook b3, king e2, rook b2, king d3, rook b3, king c2, zigzagging in, the white king actively chases the rook to the b7 square, after which rook h7 again will win the rook. It turns out that in this position, if the black king is on g7 or h7, the position is drawn. The reason is, first of all, there's no check. There's no rook g8 check or rook f8 check with tempo, because if white plays rook g8 check here, black can just capture the rook and then take the pawn. Then black wins. There's no skewer also, because there's no room on the king side for the black rook to slip behind the black king. So the only way for white to try to win this position would be to bring the king towards the b7 pawn, to try to defend the pawn. Notice if this were the position, and then the white rook were to move, white would be winning, because the white king defends the b7 pawn, and next move would be to move ahead, b8, making a queen. The problem is that white can't do this. The second the white king gets to c6, black can start checking. Rook c1 check. The white king has nowhere to go. King b6, rook b1 check. King a6, rook a1 check. As long as the king stays on this half of the chessboard, black has perpetual check. If the king comes back, king b5, rook b1 check, king c4, rook c1 check, king b3, rook b1 check, king c2, now black can stay behind the passed pawn with a move like rook b5 or rook b6, doesn't really matter. and still white can't make progress. When the king comes back, king c3, rook can just come back to b1. And when the king approaches the pawn, the checks can begin again. So here you see the power of a rook behind the passed pawn. This is a rule in the endgames in chess. Rooks belong behind passed pawns. Here, the black rook is active. It can at once defend this pawn from promoting, and it can check the white king whenever the king gets close. The white rook, on the other hand, on b8, is stuck on this one square. It's in front of the pawn. If the rooks were reversed, like this, then white would win easily. The black rook can't move because the b8 queening square is defended by the white rook, and white can just bring the king into the game. King c4 to c5 to c6 to c7, and win. That's a basic theory of this position. It's white's move here. Sacrifice to set up a powerful fork. Excellent work. Rook f7 check. A good sacrifice. King takes f7. It turns out that either white knight can take on e5, but let's say knight c takes e5, d takes e5, knight takes e5 check, forking the king and the queen. Now king e6, knight takes f3, and white wins the game. So keep your eyes out for sacrifices to set up forks. It's black to move here. See the whole board. Look for a fork. Yep, that's it. Queen a5 check is a very powerful move, forking the king on e1 and the knight on h5. This one might have been tricky to find because you have to see the whole board. Here it's white to move and win. Don't move until you see it. Well done. Queen takes g8, sacrificing to set up a mate. King takes g8, and now what does white play? Rook h8. Checkmate. Again, I warn you against mechanical thinking. It's very easy to never even consider moves like queen takes g8. But if you notice the patterns, notice the bishop and the rook honing in on the h8 square, the knight on d6 guarding the f7 square, you'll start to feel the black king is in danger. Then you'll find a move like queen takes g8. Often we have a sense in chess that there's something in the position, long before we actually find what that something is.